Hi, Mark Reedy here. In the last video I went over installing Terminal Services Server and setting up a couple of icons on each user's individual desktop. Now in this video I'm going to go over showing you how to set up TATEMS using Terminal Services Remote Application Manager or Remote App Manager. And this is where the user will just have an application icon or an icon on their own desktop, on their workstation for TATEMS, and it will only open up TATEMS on the Terminal Services Server. So let's go ahead and get started. And first of all, you're just going to click on, this is on the Terminal Services Server we're looking at here. We're going to click on Start and then Administrative Tools, go up to Terminal Services, and then Remote App Manager. So we'll create our first application icon. And we're going to use the same two paths that we used on the previous video, one for Mark and one for Matt. So I'm going to click here over on the right. It says Add Remote App Programs. So click on that. Brings up a little wizard, and then click Next. And what we're going to do is we're just going to browse for the application we want. And I'm going to go to the desktop here. And we're going to get this application icon that I created for the desktop version. I'm going to open that up. And then we're going to choose Properties. And we're going to rename this. We're going to call this TATEMS for Mark. And everything remains the same here. This all looks good. What it does is it actually splits up the shortcut into two sections. We have the shortcut to Microsoft Access up at the top where it says Location, and down at the bottom we have the shortcut to the TATEMS front-end file, and that's in the command line arguments area. And I'm going to change this alias here to the same thing, TATEMS for Mark. This is just so that we can identify these shortcuts that get created later when we want to add them to our workstations. And then over here there's a couple of more items we want to add to the end of these command line arguments. And one of them is a slash and then the word runtime. And that makes sure that we are running access and runtime mode. And then a space and then another forward slash and the word, or the letters I should say, EXCL for exclusive. And that opens this front-end file exclusively, because if you share the front-end file between two users at the same time, you can run into conflicts and the TATEMS is not going to work properly. That's why we've put the front-end file into multiple subfolders, a subfolder for each user that needs to be using TATEMS on the Terminal Services Server. So we've added the exclusive argument, and now we're just going to click OK here, and then we'll click Next and Finish. And you can see down here we've got our application created and everything looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this application and I'm going to choose, there's two ways to distribute the application icon for the user's workstations. You can create an RDP file or you can create a Windows installer package. Either one should work fine. On the workstation though, you want to make sure that you've got at least Windows XP Service Pack 3 or greater, or Windows Vista Service Pack 1 or greater, and Windows 7 will work. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create RDP File, click Next, and it asks me where I want to put the program, the package. And I'm going to change this to go just to the public folder, and that way we'll be able to find it easily from the workstation. Click next here, finish, and you can see here it's been saved into the public folder. That is our shortcut that we're going to be copying to our workstation. Second way to do this is I'm going to right click over here on Remote Apps Programs and create Windows Installer Package. And this is really, we'll create a different type of an icon and actually install the program onto the workstation and put it into Add Remove Programs. So I'm going to click Next here, and I'm going to go ahead and change this location back over to the public folder. And we're going to click Next. And this will actually allows me to determine where I want to put the icons on the workstation where this is going to be installed. I'm going to put one on the desktop, and in the Start menu I'm just going to put it into a TATEMS folder. And we can leave this Associate Client Extensions unchecked, and now I'm going to click Next and then Finish, and that has been created. So we have two types of shortcuts or little icons that we can use to install this or get it running over on a workstation. So I'm going to minimize the Terminal Services server, and now we're going to be looking at a Windows 7 server. So I'm going to go ahead and click Open here, and I'm going to go down to the network, and then we're going to open up Server 3 and then the public folder, and then we can see our two icons right here. So we could just drag this one, this RDP one, out to our desktop, copies of the desktop, and now that we've done that, we can just double click to open it, and it brings up this dialog, the Remote App dialog, and we can choose not to ask you for this, but we'll just choose Connect. And then I have to log in, and this user has to have a login over to the Terminal Services server. He has to have a license for Terminal Services server in order to log into it. So there we go. And so now we are connected to the Terminal Services server, and the program TATEMS is actually not running on the workstation, it's running on the Terminal Services server, so you have a big increase in speed. This particular database file that we're connected to now is over 800 megabytes, and you can see how fast it opened. And if I were to click on Reminders pop-up, you can see how quickly that opens as well. So it definitely is a quick way to go. So I'm going to minimize or close this out, and then we're going to show you, I'm going to take this shortcut off the desktop, and now I'm going to show you the installer. So we'll go ahead and just double click this. Okay, and now we have this shortcut here, and we'll go ahead and run that. It's going to connect to the Terminal Services server. I have to log in. And now we're connected to Terminal Services server, just the way we were before. We'll close that, and if you need to uninstall this from the workstation, you just go over here to Control Panel, and then go to Programs and Features, and we see here TATEMS for Mark. I'm going to go ahead and uninstall that. Okay, now in order to create shortcuts for other people, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Terminal Services server. And I need to create a new program for Matt at this point. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Add Remote App Programs, okay, Next, and then I'm going to browse. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you how to do this a fairly easy way. I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to grab the TATEMS. This is the shortcut that I created for me, for Mark. And I'm going to open that up. And then I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to call this TATEMS for Matt. And down here under alias, TATEMS for Matt. And then down here underneath the command line argument, you can see here that it's pointing to Mark. So you want to change this so that it's opening up Matt's MDE file. So I'm going to change this to Matt, and we're going to put those other arguments in here: runtime and exclusive. And now we're going to click OK. You know what I do is I'm going to change this icon from the Microsoft Access icon. See if we can change this. I don't know if it's going to work properly, but we will try to grab the icon that is included with TATEMS. And we'll grab down here, grab this one here, and next, finish. So now we've created a program, TATEMS for Matt. And now I want to create the RDP file and the installer package for Matt. So we'll go ahead and do the RDP file first. Say next here. I'm going to change this, put it over into the public folder, and click next and finish. And you can see here's the RDP file for Matt in the public folder. And I'm going to right click on this one again on Matt, and we're going to create a Windows installer package. Click on Browse, change this back up to public, click OK, click Next, put it on the desktop, and put it in the TATEMS folder on the target computer. Click Next, and finish. And so that's all set. We've created the MSI and the RDP. You don't need to create them both. It's just a matter of preference on how you want to do it. If you like using a setup program that you can uninstall later, then use that. If you just want to put a shortcut onto the person's desktop, that'll work as well. So we're going to go ahead and minimize the Terminal Services Server, and we're going to go back over to a copy of Windows 7. And now you can see over here that the MSI and the RDP for Matt show up. And now we're going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to use another account, and it's just connecting, and there we go, and we're all set. We were accessing that larger database file. So that is it for this video. I hope this has been helpful for you, and until next time, we'll talk to you later. Take care.